Welcome to the Free Fast 3 podcast from SON Development. Am I going to regret calling it that? This podcast is the audio version of a newsletter that I send out to a little community of people who fancy getting 3 fast ideas, free of charge, every 2 weeks into their inbox. Now, if you're not already in our little email community, don't worry. Just go to sondevelopment.com/contact, pop your details in, and you'll get them every 2 weeks into your inbox too. And I'll put that link in the show notes as well. So in our 24th of October email, our free fast 3 subjects were inclusivity, tidiness, and productivity. Let's go. Inclusivity. If we write anything for publication, if we design training, run workshops, or even just post things on social media, it's really important to consider our whole audience. Now, Christy Tucker is one of my favourite training bloggers, and whilst this article I'm sharing is aimed at training designers, I think it's a really useful guideline for writing anything that includes people. Christy gives us a balanced insight into how we can identify gender and pronouns when we're creating scenarios, stories, or anywhere that we're using fictional people to get a point across. And as the proud father of a trans daughter, and also with one non-binary sibling, I sometimes see these subjects treated with maybe extreme or sometimes polarising perspectives. But this article is well balanced and I found it to be really useful. Christy shows us why we shouldn't use they, them for every character, how to be equitable, and even how to find names using a name generator. So that's non-binary characters in scenarios. The link's in the show notes. Tidiness. How do you vacuum? Did you know that there is a right way and a wrong way? I didn't. Now, whilst I suspect this next article is probably written from a marketing perspective for Dyson, and when I read it, I realised that I am definitely guilty of doing it wrong. That is my first confession of 2 confessions in this podcast. So the article is called The Right Way to Vacuum According to a Dyson Engineer. Have a look and see if you're doing it right. Productivity. Okay, this is my second confession of the podcast. I am not naturally good at productivity. This might surprise you, especially if you've done my courses or you've seen the kind of stuff I'm always putting out on social media. But I actually have to work hard to be productive, and I have to have good systems in place to help me. Obviously, Clear is the main system that I have. And over the years, I've read loads of books, I've listened to hundreds, maybe even thousands of podcasts, and I've learned a thing or two about how to be more productive. Oh, and also, I don't even like the word productivity, but that's maybe for another time. One place I have got loads of ideas from is a podcast called The Productivity Show, and it's really good. I started listening to this podcast when it began about 10 or 11 years ago, and it's inspired me to develop my own systems, my own ideas, and my own approaches. There are lots of good ideas and tips, and it's a really useful podcast to have in your subscription. Well, almost obviously as useful as ours. Anyway, check it out and let me know what you think. It's called The Productivity Show, and the link will be in the show notes. So obviously, you know that this email that I send out is now coming out as a podcast every fortnight. Oh, by the way, if you don't already subscribe to this podcast, you can do so in your podcast app or in all the usual places just by searching for Sharp Podcast. That's one word, 2 Ps. Or if you want to, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's a productivity term, isn't it? And you can go to our website where on the contact page you can sign up for the email, and on the podcast page you can listen to any of the main episodes. That's sondevelopment.com, and of course I'll put that in the show notes. So that's it for this edition. Check the show notes for all the links, and remember, don't waste time comparing yourself to anyone else. Just aim each day to be a little bit better than the person you were yesterday. Bye for now.